If you are currently at the end of your pregnancy or you're worried that you're going to go overdue, then you're going to want to watch this. Because did you know that the very things that you've been taught about natural birth can lead to your confidence being undermined? Hi, my name is Carly Bonderud, and this is the Empowered Birth series where I go deep into everything that you need to know to plan and get your empowered, true natural birth. And in this series, we are going into the 20 natural birth traps. Number 5 on our list is unsupportive friends and family who try to tell you that you need to get things going at the end of your pregnancy. And you know, it can be really stressful because you don't want to be induced, right? You don't want to end up with a C-section, right? You want to have a natural birth. Maybe you're having a birth center birth or you're planning a home birth and you don't want to risk out. Maybe you've got a midwife and you don't want to risk out of her care. And, you know, it can be really stressful because on the outside, everybody thinks that you need to go into labor by a certain point, and this can actually sabotage you. If you've been following along with my Empowered Birth series, then you also know that I have 3 paths to the Empowered Birth method. These are deep dive masterclasses, and you're going to want to take notes. In fact, everything for empowering moms is basically helping you to plan and get your empowered birth without fighting, begging, or compromising on your birth plan. We also aim for a true natural birth, and we pull back only as much as needed. Go back and watch some of my other videos, or what you can do is go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/start guide to understand the overview of true natural birth. But basically, it's like this. Natural birth in the medical system is the preservative-laden frozen dessert version of ice cream. And true natural birth is your physiological process, which is like organic ice cream. So you want an organic birth. You want to be able to allow your body to go into labor on its own, because this will be a much smoother process. It's going to be less pain. It's not going to be as traumatic, and you're not going to fall into the natural birth traps that derail it. Now, the other thing you need to understand about these deep dive masterclasses is that there is a structure to it. First, I'm going to tell you about the overview of what we're going to be learning today, which I told you today we're talking about unsupportive friends and family. The other thing I'm going to tell you is a story around this of either my own experience, experiences of my clients, or experiences of other empowered moms that have told me what went on, and also what I see in the mom groups that sabotages them and leads to them having unnecessary interventions that they otherwise wouldn't have had, including getting pushed into an induction. Then after that, I go into how it undermines your confidence and sabotages your natural birth through the 3 paths of basically seeing the overview of your mindset, how the medical system does it, and how you ultimately make the decision that leads to you falling into more traps and getting a more traumatic birth than you otherwise would have had. I also tell you how to apply the empowered birth method. I give you secrets into either birth advocacy or the context of our overall society and how this has been secretly influencing you and affecting you. And I tell you about additional resources that you're going to want to check out as well. Because as a do-it-yourselfer, you are the mom who wants to basically go through and do your own scavenger hunt of piecing together the information yourself. Maybe that is more empowering for you. And if it is, if you like to find information, well, the deeper you go with empowering moms, the more you're going to uncover. In fact, if you check the description of this video down below, you're also going to find a transcript. This is a PDF transcript that I have embedded links into it, including additional resources that you'll want to check out. Now, the other thing about these transcripts is they do get updated. So if you save the link to the transcript or otherwise keep coming back to this video, then you're going to be able to notice when something has been updated, including adding new links to new resources as they come online. And ultimately, you can have your empowered birth any way you want it. So the other thing you're going to want to understand about these deep dive masterclasses is that I basically give you the entire map so that you can do this yourself. That is the do-it-yourself path. And all I ask in return is that you like, share, subscribe to this channel, and pay it forward. Because a drop in the ocean creates ripples, many ripples create waves, and enough waves can change the tide. And I'm committed to you and every mom having an empowered birth, whether you work with me or not, whether you get any of my programs, or whether you even subscribe to my Empowered Birth newsletter, where I basically tell you about what's coming up in the empowered birth community, what's coming up in the empowered mom circle, and ultimately what this does in other areas of your life. Because when you have an empowered birth, you're an empowered mom for life, and no one can take your power away from you again. And if you continue to follow the trail and recognize that when you apply this in other areas of your life, that you're going to have a more empowered mom experience for yourself. And that can be anything in the world to you. It doesn't have to be what other people say an empowered mom looks like. This is your own personal empowered birth journey and your empowered rebirth journey. So recognizing that, let's get into the story that I'm going to basically be sharing with you about how I ended up having my confidence undermined and thinking that I needed to do things a certain way. I actually had this cost me my home birth. A lot of moms also have this cost them the ability to say no to induction. But what happens is that if your friends and family are not supportive, then they are projecting their fear onto you. And this is what happened to me. So in my first pregnancy, I was thinking, I'm going to have a home birth and I'm going to go into labor on my own and I'm going to have my baby and nobody's going to touch me and it's going to be awesome. And people were constantly like, yeah, we'll see. You're going to not be able to handle the pain and you're going to crumble under the pressure and it's not going to happen for you. And so I was really strong in my mindset because I had a lot of the 5 pillars already. I was thinking, okay, well, I've read a whole bunch of stuff on the fear, tension, pain cycle. And I recognize that if you tense up, you're going to feel more pain because I'm not going to be in the hospital. So I'm not going to be freaked out. And if I'm not freaked out, I won't feel as much pain. That was my mindset. So it wasn't so much I'm afraid of the pain, but I was afraid of something going wrong. And at 35 weeks, the something going wrong happened. My midwife had told me, I'm sorry, your baby is in the 2nd growth percentile. He probably won't tolerate labor well, and we think you should have him in the hospital. And being a small person, I was thinking, oh no, I starved my baby and now I have to go to the hospital. But something didn't sit right with me about inducing. So I kept saying no to induction. Around the same time, I was also being told that I might have to have a C-section, which also terrified me. I didn't want that either. And a friend of mine was going for her 3rd C-section. And she was like, you know, C-sections aren't that bad. You can handle it. It'll be fine. It's not that scary. And I don't know why you're making a big deal out of it. And she was basically projecting her own insecurities onto me. And I didn't see that at the time. I just thought it's like nobody's being supportive of me. And my family had all had their babies in the hospital. So they couldn't understand why I was so attached to home birth. And so this overlapping fear then trickled into my former partner, who had basically been thinking, well, I'd like to just have this home birth because that means I can just chill out. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. And it's going to be easier for me because he was a category 5. If you want to know more about that, then you'll want to check out my course, Your Empowered Birth Workshop, in the module on partner support, because I actually talk about the ways that your partner is resisting and how to get around that. There's a whole bunch of things that are inside of that course that will help you to have your empowered birth. And it's free. You just put your name and email in. I will tell you more about that after we get deeper into this masterclass. And you'll also learn of additional resources that you can take advantage of. So I recognized my partner's not supportive, my family's not supportive, my friends are not supportive, they're all terrified. maybe I don't know as much as I think I do. And this then led to some self-doubt that I have now worked through and recognized, and I teach to my clients how to incubate against that. So you need to recognize, first of all, that your friends and family, the people that you hang around the most, there's actually a rule about this within the success mindset, is that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. So if you are spending time around people that are all afraid of birth and don't trust birth, then this leads to you feeling like you need to just do what the medical system says, or that your body is not going to work properly, or other fears start to come up and you can't resolve them. Now, I talked about this inside the Reset Your Mindset for Empowered Birth mini challenge, which you can get inside of the YouTube playlist. And this basically talks about your family of origin and the birth culture that you're immersed in, that then leads to you feeling that outside pressure. So then, in addition to that, you're going into the mom groups and you're seeing that same thing, right? So I was seeing in the mom groups, oh, hospital's actually safer if you have a baby that's more growth restricted or too small, and this scary story happens, and this scary story happens, and that again undermined my confidence. And this happens to a lot of moms, is that if they don't want to induce, they go out into these mom groups and they get that same information. So now that I've told you the overall story and how this affected my birth, and you can read the whole thing if you read Your Empowered Birth. I talk about it in chapter 3, A Harsh Lesson, or you can go onto the YouTube playlist and check it out that way. And remember, if you check the description of this video, there is a transcript, so you can get all of the embedded links, okay? So just keep following and watching this video and get to the end. And then once you've done that, you can go and read the transcript. You'll have the highlights and you can go anywhere with this. Okay, so how is this a trap? The fact is that it undermines your confidence to have unsupportive people in your space. If they are not supportive, then when you are trying to do something different or get some information or say no to your care provider or plan your birth in a more aligned way to what you actually want, you've got everybody else around you with their fears that they are projecting on you. So this then undermines your confidence and has you wondering, well, what's wrong with me that I can't seem to get past this fear that I don't want to do this induction, or I don't want to go to the hospital. I want this home birth. And I understand that I'm high risk or I'm an older mom and there are risks involved, but my heart is calling me to this. Am I wrong? Am I just a bad mom? Am I not thinking of my baby? You start to have those doubts and it undermines your confidence. You also start to wonder, if I'm pushing on the outside, say you're trying to get into labor on your own, and they're saying you need to do all of the things to get your body ready, and it doesn't seem to be working, you may think that your body isn't working. But the truth is you're on your own timeline, and you don't know when you're actually going to go into labor. Your baby is on their own timeline. You don't need to show signs of labor starting or prepare your body or do anything on the outside. Your body is already going to do this. So understanding that your body is already going to do this, but the outside world is telling you you have to prepare your body and you have to get into labor and you have to get things going. And then that leads to more stress. How this then leads to interventions is that the medical system will then see you as a problem because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, which then leads to you thinking, well, my doctor says this and everybody on the outside is saying this, so I should probably just listen to the experts. And this is where I was recognizing, and what my empowered moms do, and a lot of moms inside of the mom groups, where they start to wonder, am I actually the problem? Because, you know, the thing is that we have a culture, and I will be going deeper into this in the secrets of birth advocacy, about how we're basically being told that we're wrong. no matter what we do, and that we have to trust the experts, not ourselves. But the truth is that you are your own best expert, and nobody else can birth this baby but you. Nobody else knows what you need. Nobody else has your values. So trying to ask the outside what to do, or otherwise looking to the outside to see what is normal, is not going to help you to have a true natural birth. It is going to sabotage you. And then this leads you to agree to the membrane sweep that you don't really need, or vaginal exams to check your dilation, or to have them break your waters, or to agree to that induction that you don't want because you think that that's what you have to do. You think you have to go for those tests to make sure that the baby is still okay, when really those tests can also lead to you feeling stressed out. And this is what happened with me, is that I kept going for these non-stress tests, even though I was now pretty much convinced by the second one, being like, oh, there's nothing wrong with my baby. And he is growing, it's just at his own pace. But I kept going for those. At the same time, I was very, very clear that I did not trust the medical system. But if I had not been the type of person that I am, and if I hadn't also had a very strong background in psychology, then when the OB came in during one of the non-stress tests and said, we could discuss home birth if you come to my office, but my answer is still going to be no. If that had been basically me thinking I have to defer to authority, I would have thought that there was something wrong, but I didn't. Instead, I was just really mad because I'm like, how dare you? Like, nobody's giving me permission to have a home birth. Here's the thing. Nobody has to give you permission to have your birth your way. That is a mindset shift that I help a lot of my empowered moms with. So this then ties into how we apply this with the empowered birth method. So obviously, this is like the right support. And I talk about this inside of my book, Your Empowered Birth, where I basically say that if you happen to want to change your diet, maybe you wanted to be a vegetarian, maybe you were realizing that you needed to be gluten-free, or something else, you were just like, I'm not going to eat these kinds of foods anymore. How supportive are the people around you for that? Your partner being the first one is the biggest influence on whether or not you're going to successfully be able to eat the way you now need to eat. Because are they the kind of person who would then be like, okay, cool, let's do this together, I'm going to support you? Or are they going to bring the kinds of foods that you can't have into the house as a temptation and then be like, it's not going to hurt to just cheat a little? And they continue to undermine you in that. Or maybe it was that you were going to give up alcohol. Maybe you had decided you didn't want alcohol and your partner happens to be a heavy drinker and they keep trying to push alcohol on you. When you were single, you didn't have any alcohol. It wasn't in there. And now they're pushing it on you. The kinds of friends that you hang around with, if they're the kinds of people that they're either not going to support the kinds of foods that you eat and they just have a whole bunch of stuff that you know you can't eat and they're making you out to be the problem, or you're the kind of person who doesn't drink and they happen to be all drinking and they make you wrong for it, how strong are you in your mindset? You have to be solid in that mindset, because the truth is, the reality is that we are immersed in a culture of fear. You can't change your family and friends and your partner without first working through their fears. With your partner, you have much better luck than with other people that don't have as much of an investment into your relationship and what you're ultimately trying to create in your life. So when you recognize that you have to be strong in yourself, that is where the 5 pillars come in. And the first one is the right mindset. You need to get past your fears so that nobody can project onto you. so that you are now so strong in your own convictions of what you will and will not allow, and you have your vision and you have your hard lines in the sand, that nobody can derail your plan, even if they are the most unsupportive people telling you that you're going to crumble under the pressure and get the epidural, or that your baby is going to die if you don't have an induction by 40 weeks, or some other catastrophe is going to happen if you choose to have a home birth. And instead, you're like, I am solid in my right mindset. And if you want to really solidify your right mindset, then what you're going to want to do, here's your first additional resource, is you're going to want to go through the Reset Your Mindset for Empowered Birth Challenge, because this challenge is what allows you to get all that old programming out of your head. The second part is within your Empowered Birth Workshop, where module number 1 actually helps you get past your fear. So if you go through those two pieces on their own, that is already going to help you. Now, if you want to understand more about true natural birth versus what our birth culture has basically been immersed in, and understand that from a deeper level, then I'm going to suggest you check out Rachel Reed's book, Reclaiming Childbirth as a Rite of Passage, because this book actually goes into those details of how we came to fear birth. Another great one, if you are planning to have a hospital birth, but even if you're not, is Natural Hospital Birth by Cynthia Gabriel, because she also talks about how to plan your birth. She has a birth plan in there where it's like, if you're planning a wedding, who are the people that you would really want supporting you? So she goes into that as well. There's some questions in there. And of course, I do talk about this inside the Empowered Birth Method as well. But if you really like to get the source of information, which I think as a do-it-yourselfer, you would really appreciate, because then you have your own lenses, and then you can also go through and get more information than what one video or one course can teach you, then this is the source that I pulled information from and then also added my pieces to it. So those are the two resources, as I said, that I would recommend if you wanted to go deeper. But the other thing you need to understand about the Empowered Birth Method and getting the right mindset is that you need to have your ideal birth vision and your hard lines in the sand. And then once you do that, you go and get the right education. You recognize where these fears actually came from, and you debunk a lot of those myths. Again, the Reset Your Mindset for Empowered Birth mini challenge really goes deeper into this. So once you have that right education, you need the right environment. Maybe you don't hang around in groups where the moms are all perpetuating fear. Maybe you don't go to that baby shower where you know everybody's going to be talking about the epidural and the C-section, and you're like, I really don't think that that's the best thing for my mindset right now. Maybe you hang out in the family gatherings a lot less, and you protect your time and energy because you know that they're just going to have opinions, and use that environment of, say, your mother-in-law's house or your mother's house or your aunt's house or whoever to try to talk you out of the kind of birth that you want, because now you're basically a captive audience. You also need to have the right facilitators. So your doula, your childbirth educators, and your care provider. If your care provider happens to also be perpetuating the same fear and misinformation, and they believe that they are in charge, then that can lead to you feeling like you're crumbling under the pressure. You've already got no support from your friends and family. So not having that support, you're already kind of crumbling as it is. So you want to have at least those other 4 pillars optimized, and then you seek out that right support, which is pillar number 5. You need to get your partner on board. Your partner is going to be your advocate. Your partner is going to be your protector, so that if and when you have to go into those spaces with your friends and family who are not supportive, Instead of you having to fight back and try to explain why you don't want to listen to their horror stories about what bad thing could happen if you have your home birth, or what bad thing could happen if you don't induce, or how a C-section isn't that big of a deal, or how you're just going to crumble under pressure and get the epidural, or whatever horror stories that they're wanting to do on you, or any pressure that they have, your partner can look at you and they can just be like, thank you, we're not going to have that discussion, and shut it down. My hero. Oh, you are so sexy right now because you came to my rescue. That is the energy that you want. You want your partner to be able to stand up to your mother-in-law. This is even more important if they think that they're going to be going into the birth room with you. And they're like, I don't understand why you can't just tell me the due date so that I know when to be off for your birth, so that I can come to the hospital and I can help you after the birth. Like, why won't you tell me? Well, because you don't want to have them in your space. They're unsupportive. They are not going to do what you want them to do. So you can also translate this outside of just having a natural birth. How do you want your postpartum to look like? Because, the more that you can set these boundaries now, the more powerful you become when you have kids. Let me just tell you a very, very quick story where I have basically been wanting to raise my children in a very conscious way. I believe that they get to decide what's right for them. I do set limits and I do have boundaries and I do want them to have choices. What I don't want is any gaslighting or projection or any ideas that my kids have to be less than they actually are. I do not allow people to tell my kids how they should feel about something. My kids are allowed to have their own emotions. They are allowed to express themselves, provided that it is in a constructive way. And there are people that think that my kids should be good, and that means compliant. That means following social norms that they think are normal and okay, even if I don't particularly agree with them. So, in the terms of my daughter wanting to open a present, and people telling her that she should just wait until after dinner. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at that. I'm like, no, how about we just see? We can ask the person who is hosting this, who is actually in charge. Because, you're not actually in charge. You don't actually get to decide. You can decide whether the kid opens up your present. You do not get to decide whether the kid opens up any present. That is not your jurisdiction. You are not the parent. So recognizing that, I then was able to be like, empathize with my daughter and stand for her. And this then leads to a lot of pushback and negativity that I then need to be like not dealing with, not having that basically undermine me and have me think that I'm a bad mom. And how this also shows up later in your motherhood journey is if you choose to breastfeed and everybody else is like, yeah, but we can't bond with the baby if you breastfeed because we can't give a bottle. Well, again, you're setting strong boundaries. And if you have the right support of your partner, then this allows you to have those boundaries. So again, the 5 pillars allows you to be like having that right mindset, being okay with people being uncomfortable, letting them have what my dear friend mentor Annie Lala calls the coping dance, which is basically they have to cope. You're having a home birth. You're not getting that induction. You're having a natural birth. Your birth plan is not up for discussion. Your parenting choices are not up for discussion. You will not have to apologize for your choices, but they can't handle it. And they need to cope. And you need to be able to handle them coping. And them coping can be really, really like toxic. I'm just going to say it can be toxic. But if you are detached to outcome and you know that you have everything you need and you have that right education and you are staying in an environment that is safe and you are also planning ahead being like, this environment is going to have these toxic elements in it, and I am going to set plans in place so that those toxic elements don't affect me. Sort of like if you have to go into a toxic environment and you put on a gas mask. Well, the same thing with your 5 pillars. And then if you have a right facilitator, they know how to get you where you need to go. They know how to support you. If they don't know how to support you, they're not right for you. And then again, if you have somebody in your corner, even if it's just your partner, cheering you on, that can make you be like, okay, at least one person believes in me. That's what I do as a coach. Sometimes I'm the only one that can see my client's dream and believe in them. And then I also help the partner believe in it because the partner is afraid. And then I also help them to get the medical system to believe in them so that they can then have their empowered birth. So again, when you have these 5 pillars, that is when you have everything optimized and you are more likely to get the kind of birth you want without having to fight, beg, or compromise. All right, so how do you do that? Okay, so the empowered birth method, as I said, is aiming for true natural birth, pulling back only as much as needed. So you're aiming for your dream and you're recognizing how you want to be supported. And then you have your backup plans in place for whenever somebody is not supportive, and you have those strong boundaries. And this is again where the Reset Your Mindset for Empowered Birth Challenge really comes in handy. And the modules inside of your Empowered Birth workshop will also help you to release those fears and get that education so that you can advocate for yourself. And then finally, on top of that, when you have your partner on board, then they are standing for your dreams and you can just kick back and relax because you need to be not feeling that stress in order to go into labor because cortisol and adrenaline block labor hormones. Okay, so understanding this, we're now going to go into how to get the empowered birth method. Well, I have 3 paths, and this one is the do-it-yourself path. So if you found value in this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you also go back and watch again, because I believe in the rule of 3, especially for a do-it-yourselfer. And that means you watch the video first, and you are like, okay, I've got the overview. Then you come back and watch it again. And you're going to have more aha moments than you had in the beginning, because now the information is not new to you, it's something familiar. And by the 3rd time, you have that transformation and you're like, okay, I got it. And now I can go deeper down the rabbit hole of information. Then you go into the transcript. As I mentioned, it's in the description. And you get the extra resources. And then in addition to those extra resources, you can go anywhere with this. You can go and you can check out some of the other videos. Or if you're ready for something a little bit more structured, you're ready for the next step, there is the self-study path. So self-study is when you go and you put your name and your email and you go and get the first course that I have, which is your Empowered Birth Workshop. So you go into this course and you get the signature program. You also would want to check out your Empowered Birth. You can go into the playlist and watch the videos directly to read your Empowered Birth, or you can get your own copy on Amazon and support the Empowered Birth movement so that I can get more information out there to moms who truly need it, because I'm committed to you having an empowered birth, whether you work with me or not. And I also believe that every birth can and should be a beautiful and empowering experience. I'm committed to empowered birth. And when you have an empowered birth, you're an empowered mom for life, and no one can take your power away from you again. So the self-study path basically allows you to get all of the information, because information is free, and then you can get that transformation on the other side if you do the work. But you know, sometimes you need a little hand holding. Sometimes you need somebody to really walk you through the process. And that is where you can basically pay an upgrade to get self-study VIP. This comes with direct email support, which means as you are going through the course, you can hit reply to any one of those emails that come in through the course and be like, hey, I'm having a little trouble with this module. Can you walk me through or give me an additional resource so that I get it? We also look over your homework. So there are workbooks within the self-study path. And if you do the homework, we can look that over and be like, oh yeah, I can see where you're missing it here. And here's the piece that you need. And there you go. And finally, we also have a laser coaching session. It's about 15 minutes where at the end of your program, when you have finished your course, however long that takes, you can then basically apply for that call. We look over your workbook. We see whether it's going to be worth it for you to get that call now or in the future. And then we basically just coach you. And we're like, this is what you need to do now, and get you back to feeling that confidence and support. We will hold your dream birth in our vision for you. We will stand for you. We will believe in you. When nobody else believes in you, we will be standing for you. We'll be cheering you on. We'll be your cheering squad. And all you have to do, as I said, is basically choose your path. Now, even if you are not working with us directly, if you are not subscribed to our newsletter, if you are not doing the self-study path, as a do-it-yourselfer, you can always share your empowered birth journey in the comments of these videos. We are happy to support you. We do read those comments. I myself read them. But the fastest way to get any support or help from us is to email the team, hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. And within 3 to 5 business days, you'll get some support. If you're already subscribed to the newsletter, it's faster. You get support within 1 to 2 business days because you're hitting reply to any one of our weekly emails. And if you happen to be a self-study student who's in the self-study VIP, again, that gives you more access to the resources and support that you need. Because path number 3 is not accessible to everyone. Path number 3 is premium coaching, where I take a handful of empowered moms who really want to go to that next level transformation and have their beautiful empowered births and become empowered moms for life. And we do this through the group coaching model. We do this through live workshops. We do this through live masterclasses where you can ask those questions. But information is free. You pay for access to me. So that is where it is a higher price tag, and not everybody is going to be able to afford that. And that is why the 3 paths to empowered birth exist. That is why I'm committed to you having an empowered birth, whether you work with me directly or not, because I know that you can do this on your own. And I also know that sometimes if you want to have a faster track, then you can pay for that premium service. And also, I know that when you have those steps and you become an empowered mom for life, the sky is really the limit. You can have the most empowered, beautiful transformation into your motherhood journey. You can have the most conscious relationship with your partner, a true love pairing at that. You can have a more empowered motherhood where you are raising your kids exactly the way you want to raise them. You feel more confident setting those boundaries with family that overstep. And you can even choose to build a business. You can create projects. You can be a sexy, powerful woman who gets to have a vibrant lifestyle of her own. And you can also be a really good mom. You can be an empowered mom. And that can look any way you want. You can have your empowered mom journey any way you want it. So now that you understand that we have premium coaching, we have the self-study path, and we also have the do-it-yourself, and this is the do-it-yourself path, I'm just going to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, pay it forward, pass this on. Now, let's recap quickly before we wrap up. So what I really mentioned is that you need to have the right support when it comes to planning your true natural birth. And unsupportive friends and family can undermine your confidence. They can lead to you thinking that your body doesn't work properly, or that you're not really taking this seriously, or that you're a bad mom for choosing yourself and your experience over your baby, which you're not really. If you're choosing this for yourself, you're also choosing it for your baby, and your baby deserves to be brought into the world in the most loving and transformative way possible. You don't deserve to have trauma, and neither does your baby. So understanding that you are a good mom if you're choosing to birth the way that you feel intuitively you need to do it. You're not a bad mom. So let's get that idea out of our heads. The second part, of course, is that it leads to unnecessary interventions, because if your friends and family all got membrane sweeps and they all got the induction and they all got a C-section, they all went to the hospital, you have no other frame of reference, which then leads to you being more likely to say, well, maybe I'm wrong. And you don't have anybody else telling you that actually your care provider is trying to gaslight you. And the thing that you need to understand is that we live in this culture of fear, and it was perpetuated, and people don't see the trauma that has been perpetuated. So understanding that, then we also go into how this sabotages your overall experience, is that if they don't see the trauma and they're pushing their own fears and limiting beliefs and misconceptions onto you, and you have nobody else in your corner, then that's what leads to the self-doubt. And the empowered birth method is all about releasing those fears. So if you haven't already gone through the Reset Your Mindset Challenge, or it's been a while, then I'm going to encourage you again to go into the playlist on the YouTube channel and go and watch that training. So the last thing you need to understand about these unsupportive family members is that you need to build that support. And the first line of defense is your partner, because they are going to be able to stand for you. The second line of defense is your facilitators. Now, this can include coaching. This can include coaches. In fact, part of the empowered birth method and what I do in premium coaching is that my clients basically have me on WhatsApp, and they go into their appointments with their care providers, and I prime them before they go. And then we also debrief afterwards. Sometimes it's a quick 5-minute phone call at the highest level, and then they're back on track. And same with their partner. If their partner starts to have doubts, I can get them back on track. And maybe it's that their mother-in-law said something or their sister said something and they're now a little bit shaken. And I can again help them work through that fear. But if you're doing the self-study path, you don't have that option. So you also need to be able to have that framework to basically be like, I know how to get myself out of that fear using these steps. And again, you also have direct support. If you've done self-study VIP, you can hit me up with an email or to my team and say, hey, I went through the course. I'm struggling with this. Can you give me a resource or give me a pep talk or something? Sometimes I record videos for my self-study VIPs, and I'm just like, hey, I know that you're going through this, and let me just tell you this, and I can give you that support that way. So it doesn't even have to be a laser coaching call. And then if you're doing do it yourself, well, if that's the case, then you're going to also want to go into the Empowered Birth community, and that is a Facebook group, or go to the community newsletter and just sign up that way. And then what you can do is you can hit reply to any emails. You can also just leave comments inside the videos. They are seen and you are visible, and we will support you. We're holding this vision for you. Even if you never talk to me directly, I'm just going to tell you right now, I am rooting for you, empowered mom. If you continue to follow the empowered birth method, if you continue to follow these videos, I'm just going to tell you, I am committed to you having an empowered birth. I know you can do it. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you found value in this, please like, share, subscribe to this channel, pay it forward, pass this on to other moms who need it. A drop in the ocean creates ripples. Many ripples create waves, and enough waves can change the tide. And whether you are birthing a baby, birthing a creative project or a business, or rebirthing a new version of yourself, Empowered Moms is here for you. And when you have an empowered birth, you're an empowered mom for life. No one can take your power away from you again. So next week, we are going to be talking about natural birth trap number 6, which is castor oil. So stay tuned for that. And again, if you love this, just pass it on, pay it forward. Thank you again. Have a happy, empowered birth journey, and I will see you next week. Namaste.